to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's see. So, Sue, Vincent Paul is here, Ben is excused absent. I am here, Jeff is here, Dawn is here, Christine is here. Are there any modifications to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, moving on. Okay, this time, is there any public comment? Hearing none. Okay, the first item on the agenda is progress towards school board goals, because I want to first review them for the public, for the television. We set them at a planning and dialogue meeting, and then also talk about what we've done so far toward them. So the first one is successfully negotiate and support a collective bargaining agreement with the New Foundation Association. I spent a few days on this in July, looking at cohorts, also looking at regional competition. The board has met twice on this now, and we're meeting again in a week or two. 27th, right. So we are exploring different possibilities that we can come in with an offer. That's our goal when we start. The second goal is to evaluate the use and purpose of district assets in order to develop a long-range plan that meets the needs of our population. And the one thing we have done is we had a facilities committee meeting last week, and the minutes aren't in this packet. They should be in our next one, but we developed a spreadsheet of everything that we could come up with that we needed to do in our buildings, and it went from some simple stuff like cleaning the air conditioning units, the filters frequently for kids with asthma, to big stuff. That would be costly, so we did that for each of our buildings. And then number 3, improve communication between the board and its stakeholders. We haven't done anything new on that yet. So, anyone want to add anything? Okay. So now we'll look at the minutes, and there's several in here. They're not all ours to approve, but
Probably was.
yeah. Does Ann Holton have any manager name? Yes. Okay. So on the minutes from on page 3 of the June 26 meeting, at the very bottom of the page, under public present, and above that it says staff present, and his name is not spelled correctly.
Does the board need to be listed under that as well?
No.
No.
We were already listed.
Because it was on the other notes, that's why I questioned it.
Oh.
On that,
Sometimes she's had us there as well.
on that same page, I don't know if we need this or not, but Sue made the motion for the money. We don't have a second. We have to have a second written down on there.
Oh, to encumber, I'm sure that we have a second. Yes, and yes, the answer is yes.
Does anybody remember a second?
Jeff seconded it, 7 were in favor. Okay, that's...
Thought I might have, but I wasn't just going to stand up and say I did.
On the July 14th minutes, this gentleman in the front is listed.
Yep.
Yes, our one and only public, right? So that's Tom Caldwell, public. At our P&D meeting. Do you like Thomas?
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
On page one, I don't know if this is splitting hairs or not, but
One of which date?
the same date, July 14th.
Okay.
Under new business B, this sentence, starting with Mimi Freeman, the opportunity to tell the board she's not sure that staff understand. Do we want, is that to be us understands or just understand what the board
No,
does?
because staff is plural in that situation, so.
That's your Thank you. And just the blue, you said?
Yes.
The rest are other minutes.
But
Advisory comments.
I would actually agree with Christine's comment about noting who for us is present, because on the first set, it says present, and under Sue, it says arrival time. Then on the second set of minutes, it says when Sue arrived, doesn't say anything for the rest of us. And then on the third set, it doesn't say anything at all. So Sue must have been on time, but, I think,
So we can just add staff, public, and board, yeah.
well, no, on the first one, it says it next to our names at the very front of the minutes, so
Yeah.
do the same for each. Yeah.
Oh, on the front, if there's somebody.
Yeah. Rather than listing us at the end, that one seems kind of, I mean, if there's a role, it ought to be in the minutes next to where it says record role.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Make a motion to accept the minutes
As amended.
as amended.
All right, so Jeff's motion to accept them as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Is it okay to do this outside of consent? All of you? I don't believe we have so much business, we can't do them individually tonight. I'll check with you. All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that was 5 ayes, Leah. And 2 absent, 1 absent excused. Okay, next is update on RSA 195A, Bridgewater Hebron withdrawal study, and I'm not really sure who's presenting that update. Because I haven't been contacted, so by the subcommittee chair, which happens to be the same person, both subcommittees.
So maybe the update is just that we're in a holding pattern at this point, waiting to hear about a next big meeting for the big committee to meet, and it was Pat who was gonna let us know.
When it was time for that, so that I could call the
The
meeting.
Finance Committee was the last committee to meet, and the closing statement was that Bridgewater and Hebron needed to get together to come up with a plan for presenting it to both towns, the information to both towns.
And that was going to be the middle of this month when that happened, right? Or that was the
He hadn't set
plan?
a date, and he hasn't
Okay,
contacted any of us yet.
all right, so Bridgewater and Hebron need to meet.
And I need to bug him about it.
Okay,
But it's planned for the next full committee meeting. I think it was in September.
yeah, originally, what you guys had said, I don't know who said it, but there'd be that mid-August or sometime in August meeting, and then I would be told whether or not it was time to call. Yeah, okay. All right, hello, Sue.
Hi there, sorry. don't know what my excuse is. Summer hours, I think. My summer schedule.
Okay, anything else on that? So moving on to new business, we have confirmation of summer resignations first.
Should will pass around. Since the last board meeting that, after you allowed me to accept resignations and hire, we've had 3 resignations. I'm bringing forward just for board confirmation, the resignation of Steve Christensen at the high school, who's a science teacher, Samantha Masahas, get that one, at Danbury, who's our part-time guidance counselor, and Celine Gordon at Bridgewater, who is a second grade teacher.
Although I think the kids say Macedos.
Try not to guess. So if the board is okay, you can make a motion to confirm those resignations.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, moved by Ruby, second by Jeff to accept the summer resignations. And only one of those is new to us, right?
Correct.
Celine's.
I don't remember why the science teacher.
He took another position in the community that he used to work in and lives in.
He was commuting from Newport.
Yeah.
And,
Good explanation.
but it was also money.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the confirmation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, summer hires?
Summer hires, so we have hired, since the last board meeting, Charles Thoreau, for a science teacher at the high school. He comes in at a master step 2. Megan Goldner as a science teacher at the high school, a master step 15. And Rebecca Hartley as a math teacher, who is going to be bachelor's plus 15, step 1.
She knew? To teaching?
No, she's actually taught at a couple of private schools and at a charter school, but because she didn't have her certification, and none of those positions require certification, I won't give her credit for those, because she doesn't have her cert, so she probably has 4 or 5 years of experience, just not in a certified position.
Does she have calculus experience?
She is a strong, yes, she has been teaching was teaching at a charter school, some high-level math.
Okay, is there a motion to confirm summer hires?
So moved.
Sue moved, is there a second? Second by Christine. Any conversation? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that's...
If I can just add, just for the board's knowledge, we are not going to hire either the guidance position or the second grade position, taking into consideration what I promised the board, which was to continuously look at positions. The Bridgewater Hebron 5-day-a-week guidance counselor is going to be 3 days a week in Bridgewater and 2 days a week in Danbury. And I'm hoping that will, one, slow the revolving door around in Danbury. This is 3 years with 3 guidance counselors, but also addresses the, how many days a week does the guidance counselor need to be there? So we've met with the guidance counselor, we looked at all the concerns and issues, we've addressed them, and that person will be covering both of those schools. Bridgewater Hebron second grade, we had 2 teachers, we had 3 teachers between second and third grade in Bridgewater watching numbers. Right now, class size at Bridgewater for second grade is either 21 or 22. We just heard somebody is moving, so that will be 21. Third grade is 22, potentially 23, so they're both within reasonable numbers. So we are not going to replace that position and go with those class sizes, which are not unheard of.
Not unheard of, but not ideal, that's for sure.
And it gets hard when you get like 21 and 22, because then, do you break a 22 into a 10 and 11, which are really tiny?
And that's down from the 23 you originally had in the
Correct,
class,
right.
right? So, That was another reason.
Yeah, we knew those numbers were fluctuating a little bit. So we had one teacher on the swing of second or third grade where that was. We'll just add that.
If it goes up, Christine, Stacy will look at it again.
Yeah, but we're prepared to resolve a situation if it goes up.
Sorry, I'm just writing my notes.
How many other positions are still open?
We have no professional staff positions open. We have a part-time speech pathologist, which we have been looking at, which we'll likely have to contract services for. It's a 2-day-a-week position. We just haven't been able to get in, but other than that, everybody is ready to go.
Okay. Next is the community member volunteering to be on our facilities committee.
Yep, we have a Dan Tucker who was recommended, and I spoke with him, and he's very interested in working on that's the building committee, the facilities committee, and so I'm just looking for the board to confirm his appointment on that committee.
I didn't know we had to be honest with you, because we had discussed him being on it before, but do we have to accept a volunteer through board action?
Is it an appointed position? Is it a
Yeah.
full position?
It's a position on that
Volunteering
committee.
to be on the committee?
If it's a position that we created, I think we should accept it. And by the way, where is he from?
He's from Bridgewater.
And does Pat Dolan, or Phil Dolan, also need to be appointed then?
Food service director.
Yeah, I know, like, we haven't seen those minutes yet, but that, yeah, we had discussed adding Phil Dallin too. We thought it was a missing person that we should have there. I just, I didn't know to accept a volunteer that you had to do that, but I'm okay with it.
I mean, they're a voting member on that committee, so the board should probably accept their appointment.
Okay.
So school board committee.
Okay, so, would someone make a motion to accept Dan Tucker and Phil Dallin to the facilities committee?
I make a motion that we add Phil Dallin and Dan Tucker to the facilities committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
And Sue seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, next we have surplus list for approval.
So this is the list given by basically mostly tech department. They've been cleaning out.
They have been, yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to find space.
I love
Way to
this.
find space is clean out.
Can we get rid of dead batteries? Yes, we can.
Well, we will put these out to bid for anybody who feels the need.
I had a question about these iPod, the iPod Touch, the iPod Classic. It says functional, no 30-pin cable. So does that mean somebody else can use them somewhere else?
If you have a plug, that'd be fine. We're just not supplying, one of the things that we can reuse that's valuable to us would be their cords. However, some people have multiple cords, so if they want one of those for a very low to next to nothing price, they can get one. The last time we went through this, we included the plugs, which we shouldn't have done, because I think those get recycled, kids break them, pull them off, so I think we can use those at charging stations and things like that. And so we made sure to make it people aware.
Okay, I have a concern about those two, and then up above it, PowerPC iMac and Intel iMac, which are all listed as functional. And here's my concern. Not in putting them on the list of we're no longer using them here, but we have a lot of kids that have no technology of their own. And so where I work anyway, we clean them up and we give them away to students. And we have the students put in their names for them, and it's just, like, I don't know if they do it by drawing, but there are kids that could probably use this technology who don't have anything to use at home. So I would like to suggest that we do that with those 4 items. So I'm going to restate what I just said. On the surplus items listed for August 2014, I would suggest that we take the 1 Power PC iMac, the 12 Intel iMacs, the 5 iPod Touch 3rd generation 8 gigabyte, and the 1 iPod Classic 30 gigabyte, and make them available to students through a drawing, for lack of a better word.
What about the eMac and the MacBooks?
Tell me where those are, and are they functional?
Right under Intel Mac.
Okay, and so I accept a friendly amendment to add those.
Just to play devil's advocate,
Yeah.
because this puts us in a tough area, because let's say we give away everything you just, for no charge. We have to clean off every single one of those. They reinstall software on it. And it's really, it's a shell of a computer. So it's the responsibility of the kid to do that. We have to put in work for that. So we would rather throw most of these away so that we don't have to do that, because you're using up, we only have a couple tech guys to do this, and that is a large number of instruments to put together for this. If someone wants to donate $10 for it or something per item, it would help. It offsets directly their cost.
What if we offered them for sale to the kids for $10?
Well, they
They
can
can
put
bid
in,
on it
these
for
all
$2
go
if they
for,
want,
up
you
for
know,
bid.
that's-
We don't get a whole
Yeah.
lot.
But what if we only put them up for bid with our student body?
I mean, my biggest concern is I just wouldn't want kids to start bidding on something that a parent says, now they're gonna come home and we have to spend $75 to install this stuff. Like, how do we assure that a kid has parents, without us now taking 500 more steps to do this?
Jeff?
Sorry.
I have 2 issues here that are potentially serious. The Power PC iMac, is that a cathode ray tube model?
I have no idea.
Well, there's 2 issues here
That's the list we
surrounding,
got.
well, there's 2 issues here surrounding hazardous waste.
Yeah.
Giving away hazardous waste is a problem. Disposing of it without certification is another problem. When we start disposing of large quantities of hazardous waste, we need to get certified disposal. The EPA will come in and eat us up.
No, we don't throw them away.
garbage.
We will give them to us. They will be taken, and in some cases, we even have to pay for it. We actually have a very good relationship with the recycling center too, for certain items, because and they often do not charge us for it either.
None of this
With the
just goes
school
into our
district. Yeah, we don't
Right,
throw
but
it in
what
the
I'm
dumpster.
saying is, my concern here is not
Yeah,
a sign transfer, but if we start giving them away to students.
they
I
could just
mean,
chuck them.
We are potentially giving away hazardous waste,
Yeah.
which could come back to bite us.
The other question I had was the hard drives, have they been wiped?
That's what he said would take time.
He will, if there's someone that wants it and they bid on it for like $10 or whatever, he will install a base operating system on the device, so that's at least functional.
I'm saying,
Yeah, the hard
Yeah,
drives. are
anything
clean.
anything
Yeah,
that goes will
absolutely.
be,
It's been clean.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Anything of that.
Well, that's part of the process.
Okay, I know we've been discussing it. There was no second to my motion though. So, for further discussion, is there a second? Because if there's not,
To continue discussion.
in order to validate us having this discussion. Do you
I still have
second
a
it,
couple
Christine?
questions, So I guess I'll second
Yep,
it.
okay.
The MacBooks, where did they come from? That's a lot. And are batteries are you not able to replace the batteries? They must.
We could, but it's very expensive,
And those
so.
MacBooks are probably the oldest MacBooks we have.
Yeah, so they're not really compatible operating systems for what we want to teach kids on. And if we were to replace the battery, it gets you a quarter of the way to the cost of the actual book. Actually, if you buy Chromebooks too to cover, it just makes no sense.
So are we moving away kind of from Mac, do you think?
Yes, because the board's philosophy is PC, not Mac.
Once you
With
go back, you
Chromebooks.
never go back.
I know.
It wasn't easy putting that philosophy in.
To sort of match what's out there in the real world. So
Yeah,
that
I mean, yeah.
you have some, but you don't, overwhelmingly.
We did have actually a Mac lab too.
I think that's where those
Debated
22
and talked to the teacher involved in that course and looked at actually their curriculum, not just what kind of device they're working on. And when we really looked at it, she said, everything that I teach can be done on a much cheaper platform. And if she was given the opportunity to spend that money and buy this, or buy this, it really came down to the teacher's decision too. Because it was a Mac lab, so it gave, we asked her, are you using these computers for an alternative kind of program for them to learn on? And we weren't. There's certainly different values to knowing other platforms too, so.
So those 22 Macs are from the Mac lab at the high school. And so most of them are surplused as kind of so outdated that they don't run things that we need on them. But some of them will be used to replace even older Macs in the district.
And at the bottom, there are also 22 MacBook power adapters that would go with them. I'd like to hear from Mimi. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I wasn't happy when we stopped using Macs.
But in terms of kids,
There are quite a few kids that don't have, you're right, that don't have access to things at home. I'm not sure what's the best way, to get them in the right hands for the right use with parents on board. So I don't know. But it would definitely be helpful for a lot of kids who have no access whatsoever. So I don't know. It's a good thought.
My other point here is they've been making MacBooks for a long time. And if these are first generation MacBooks, they're garbage.
but to a kid who doesn't have anything.
To a kid who doesn't have anything, that's still garbage. If they have the round plug on them, if they don't have the rectangular magnetic plug, they are too old. They can't run the latest OS. They're not even capable of the current generation of web applications. They're garbage.
Very frustrating, probably.
I see nothing on this list that excites me as having any value.
Yeah,
Even a third generation iPod is more aggravation than it's worth.
Josh, we use our technology till it's pretty much useless, so when we get the list, it's pretty much what is useless.
Okay, well, I'm gonna reread my motion with that little amendment for the MacBook power adapters. So I move that we take the Power PC iMac, the Intel iMac, the MacBooks, the iPod Touch, the iPod Classic, and the MacBook power adapters and make them available to our students through a raffle. Christine second, so I'm gonna call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. I'm the only aye then. Okay, all those opposed?
No.
Any abstention?
Abstention.
One abstention, Christine. One aye, Ruby. The rest, nay.
Can you second and abstain?
I'm sorry, what?
Maybe not.
Can you second and abstain?
I changed.
Yes, you can after the discussion's happens in the
Thank you.
end.
Yeah, I'm really bummed this discussion doesn't
I mean, she probably could have withdrawn her second instead, but it's okay, the way we did it.
I just don't want these kids to get frustrated with something that's as antiquated as your plants.
And if you've ever tried using a very old computer, I know what you're saying. You can't run a lot of the...
I have a Mac right
software.
now that's not very old, and I'm running into a lot of issues, so.
It was a well-intended thought,
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes, very.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay. Our agenda,
Actually,
yes?
Motion to go back to discussion.
I would like to make a motion that we direct Josh that if he feels that any of this equipment does have any value, that it be donated to a needy party. And let Josh decide if there's anything here that's worth aggravation. He'd be a good judge of that, he sees it.
So you could make a motion to approve the list of surplus with the notion that Josh could donate anything that he felt was valuable or students could use.
I like that.
And we do explore, by the way, those options, so a lot of the times we don't want to dispose of these things because they do cost money with different ways. So if we can get someone that can use it, we definitely will, including books. Sometimes you'll see on the surplus list books, we don't throw those away. We'll donate those to a library or something like that, but we can't let anything leave here until you declare it surplus, even
Okay.
if it's a dead battery.
So Jeff's motion is that Josh Malloy can determine if any value is to be found in this list and can be used by students, then it should be made available to needy students. I second that motion.
And approve the surpluses.
Yeah, and we're approving the surplus here too.
Okay, well, hold on then. So first you move that we approve the surplus list.
With the,
Right.
with the stipulation.
Yeah. All right, so Jeff moves to approve the surplus list with the addendum, I guess, that Josh Malloy can determine if any have value and can be used by students, that they then be made available to needy students, and I second that motion. Any discussion?
Yeah, friendly amendment.
Yeah?
Could we change the name Josh Malloy to direct the superintendent to assign the resource? Just because her employee, she may decide someone else, including Mike or somebody, could make that decision on his behalf.
There's several
I mean, this is
guys
the
that
sort of
could
thing that
research it.
they does and should do, I think, on their own.
Okay, Jeff has to accept that
Yeah,
first.
it's-
Do you? Okay, and I accept it as
That
the
meets the
second.
intent anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
They're broken, why are they on the list?
We have
Can't
to
get
put
rid
them
to get rid of
on.
them.
Oh, still have,
We know the policy.
So,
They're dead batteries.
I haven't gotten through them.
It's a smart thing to keep the school from giving away, throwing away stuff, giving it away to friends when it's, usable, yeah. All right, any discussion on that besides? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries. Now we are ready to meet the new program director of Project Promise.
So I would like to introduce Autumn Fabricant, who is our new program director. She has started about 2 weeks ago and has hit the ground running. She's done a wonderful job. Has it been like 2 weeks just about?
Yeah, 2 weeks and 1 day.
So she's gone to the state directors conference for 2 days. She's already started hiring. We have a letter done to send out to parents, but I won't take her. Go ahead. Tell us what you've been busy doing for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I just wanted to introduce myself. Not sure if you guys know, but I've been in out-of-school time programs for the past 5 years. I'm really passionate about it. I'm super excited to get started, and I keep telling everyone, I'm like, I just want it to be October because things will hopefully be smooth and running, but as Stacy said, I went to the state conference. I met with our state director and kind of asked a lot of questions about the grant, the budget, just to really get my mind around everything that encompasses the role of the director position. I held a focus group last Friday, and there were about 10 people there talking about sort of what out-of-school time programs are to them, because I just wanted to really involve people who've been involved in the program with moving forward into the next school year. A lot of things that came out that were highlighted were engaging students, active for students were some of the things that people thought were really important, reinforcing academics, and really being purposeful in the enrichment times of figuring out ways to embed academics, so kind of hidden learning for the students, as well as during the tutoring time, kind of being purposeful about that time, not just everyone sitting here being quiet, but thinking about ways to sort of engage the students. And then also, as Stacey said, we have the draft of the letter to parents along with the registration packets, and we hope to get those out by the end of this week. I hope to have all of our hiring decisions from applications by the end of this week, and we're planning right now an orientation for staff for the week of the 18th, which I believe is next week. So yeah, I've been really pretty busy, and some of my goals just in general are to really try to involve the community and families, and in the parent letter I've invited all families to be a part of a family and community advisory board that I hope to start in October. And the other one of my passions is youth voice, and making sure that there's youth voice at all sites, and that's obviously going to look different at the elementary level versus the middle versus the high school level, but it's something that I had training in as well. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, happy to answer them the best I can, and yeah.
I just want to add that this is now the first of the 2 visits that are required by the grant. I'm supposed to come and see us.
Oh,
twice a year. Okay.
Check, I didn't even know.
So that's been done, yeah. And I already sent you feedback as a parent.
Yes.
Yep. So I think it's a good opportunity to look fresh at what we do here.
What did you learn at your focus group?
So I took some notes, just, so we started off in the focus group. I did it's called a chalk talk, where you put something up on the board and people can write and respond. And so I wrote down out of school time programs are, and then people could kind of write everything that they wanted to and respond to each other. And so I learned, like, that everyone, as we did our introductions, went around and said which one of those things really stood out for them. And so a couple of the highlights from that were in 2 places, and actually Leah pointed this out, that it bookended, it had community on one side of the board and community on the other side. So really thinking about how community can be involved with Project Promise, and how we're serving the community, but it's also sort of this dual relationship. And then one of the other things that really came out was that it's based on the kids' needs, and so, which I think is awesome, because we really need to think about that students have been in they've been at school since 7:30 in the morning, and that it's a long day for them. So thinking about what are their needs and how can we most effectively meet those needs. And then I also, another thing that people really wanted to kind of point out in the focus group is that, and that there may need to be some rebranding or even better communication about the program, but that people don't want family, staff, community, students to see it just as childcare, that it should be something beyond just childcare. So it's not just babysitting, kids sitting there doing something. It's purposeful, and it has meaning, and it's linked to things that are happening in the school day. And so I think those were sort of the main 3 themes that or 4 themes that came out.
And one thing I told Autumn was, this is a few years ago now, but we had a director who did this program through the community center who was just outstanding, and we at first were confused because we'd show up to pick up our kids at 3:30 or 4 or 4:30, and they weren't there. They weren't there because they'd done their snack, they'd done their sort of recess, they'd done their homework, and every day there was some purposeful activity. So they were hiking down the rail trail, or they were out in the woods doing like leaf identification. And so then we got used to the fact that the after-school program is not a drop-off pickup. It's a real program with a real plan, and anytime after 5 o'clock you could pick up your kids. But if you showed up at 4:30, they were in a program. They weren't. So that takes that. It didn't feel like daycare. It didn't feel like a babysitter. Yeah.
Those are kind of some of the things that I learned.
Have procedures been established for the cost and reimbursement from the parents?
Yes. For the fees for the parent?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I was working on, and why partially the letter was taking so long. I was just trying to kind of get the kinks out. But so it's going to be across the board. Well, not across the board. At all elementary sites, there won't be any registration fee, and it'll be $8 a day for students. Students who are on reduced lunch will be $4 a day, and the students who have free lunch are free to come to the after-school program. And then Susan Severns is going to do the billing centralized, and she's going to make sure that site coordinators have a bill or an invoice at their site by the 10th of each month, and then families will be expected to be making payments by the 25th of that month. However, if the 10th or the 25th falls up on a non-program date, it would be the following Monday.
Are we paying just for attending days, or?
Yep, just for attending days, and that's part of the reason why too it has to be the 10th afterwards, because we need to make sure that the attendance is, the attendance should be put in daily, but making sure that we're running the reports and that it's accurate and all of that.
Because I had suggested we not do that so that we could budget, but.
Yeah, more to come. I mean, I think those are things we have to look at. Honestly, I didn't have time in July to do it.
Yeah.
And to ask Autumn, who's now trying to hire and everything else.
Right,
It's just,
right.
I think we can look at that as we start to look at sustainability, how we keep these programs going, and that the conversation was around, so if somebody just comes 3 days a week, should we be charging them 5 days for that slot? So.
And the other thing is, at the state conference with the other program directors, there was a roundtable on the second day of the conference. And one of the things we actually went around is every site, 21st Century Community Learning Center's grant site, went through and actually said what their fee structure was. And our fee structure actually is very similar to a lot of other sites, and is right in the middle ground as far as how much we're charging. So it's not astronomical, and it's not, it's right. It felt good to hear what other people were doing, because it made me feel like the decisions that were made about the fees were really, based on what other people are doing too.
And I would also add that I went to the first day of the conference, and there was kind of a principal/director roundtable, and one of the things we talked about was kind of best practices, and we were able to get some really good information from other programs on how they get staffing. So a lot of them use volunteers. A lot of them use college students, and so we talked about connecting with Plymouth State to see if we can get college students, because certainly those would come at a much lower cost than our staff. We also talked about, they talked a lot about different things like getting work-study students, because you only pay half of what their actual cost is, so the college pays half, we would pay half. So there's lots of opportunities, and I think we got some really good ideas out of that, of how other schools do it. They don't have 100% paid their staff. Actually, most of them have very little of their paid staff who work in the programs.
Mimi?
How does that compare to what it's been in the past?
It's $5 a day.
It was $5 a day?
It depended on the site,
Yeah.
actually, I think, because at some of the other sites, it was $80 for the session, and maybe it was $80 for a session, but $5 a day if you didn't prepay for the session. It seemed like it was, looking at the website and then also talking to Susan, it seemed like it was kind of across the board different depending on what was going on at each site.
Inconsistent.
The billing has been a mess from the beginning, at least when it went back, well, at least when the school started billing, no offense, but as soon as the SAU started billing, you'd get a bill and it'd be like so old, and it wouldn't match your attendance days. It was messy.
Yeah, just so you know, the SAU has never billed.
Yeah.
It always comes, it has always come from the
If we had
school.
billed, it would have
Okay.
been through an invoicing
Okay.
Yeah,
actual
So
it has
system.
come from and so part of it was, it went from central location to individual schools, so depending on the site director, the site coordinator, how often they did it. So
Yeah.
this will centralize it to one person, we're actually
And even
using the
just having
client
the same
system
day of
for
the month.
billing, and
Even having the same day of the month. Would be an
absolutely.
improvement.
So.
Something else I want to say. Oh, would you add Colby Sawyer College to your college list, because they're closer to Danbury than Plymouth is, so you can get students from them to
Colby Sawyer.
What is it?
Colby Sawyer.
Colby Sawyer College.
I'm new to the area, I'll look at it. Yeah, and along with the Plymouth State, I've already left, the person who does the work studies for off-campus sites is on vacation right now, but I've left a message with her and sent her an email, so there's already sort of a contact out for that.
But is that part of the education department or overall in
It's
the whole school?
It's overall, but students can choose to do their work study on campus or off campus. And so the off campus would be through this community service organization. I don't know a ton about it because the person who I've tried to contact with is not there, so.
Because the education department
And
have,
that's another thing that
more students that want to be involved in education.
Definitely, and actually I contacted the education department to have our posting for the job openings go on, I guess they have some sort of wall that it goes up, and then I'm hoping to build relationships with the professors there. In the previous grant that I worked on, we would have student teachers were able to get their pre-student teaching service hours in the after-school program, and we even collaborated with a teacher who was teaching like science methods for pre-student teachers, and they came in and ran clubs for our students. So that's definitely relationships that I'm hoping to build, but with 2 weeks under my belt.
And then Tarpley Thompson Center, is that, do they get the $8 a day or?
No, we gave them a flat fee just to run the program. Yep, and I know she's already met with Lessa as well, so.
And is that?
She's done a lot in 2 weeks.
Is that? I have a couple questions. So is that still Friday for all schools?
Correct.
Elementary schools, yeah.
Yeah.
And when is the program opening?
In the letter, and yeah.
Targeting the first day of school.
Yeah, it started the first day of school for elementary sites, and then the 15th for middle school and high school. And we're still working on hiring, but I think we've got a lot of really great candidates. And in the first week, I know that in the past, and I want to continue, they do an orientation week. And so if that means at one site that I'm going to be there the whole first week, that's awesome. I would actually be really excited to do that. And same thing with Susan. So we're just going to make it work because I know that that's a really big priority for families.
What about the help with dealing with the overtime? Do we have any other conversations with like maybe Leslie in regards to having her cover their extra?
No,
No.
we have not. She would need to own the whole grant. We couldn't just portion off people. So I think we have to stick with legally what we can do. And staff have been good. We've gotten, Paris, who said I can work 6 hours and I love 6 hours. We're like, great, we'll work with you,
People, in my perspective, have seemed really excited to be involved in the program.
So at each site, is there a person there every day? Is there a consistent person there 5 days?
Yes,
Or 4 days?
So there'll be a site coordinator at each site who will be there every day, and then my goal is to have a lead teacher or a lead support staff person who will be another person who's there every day, so that there will be a consistency, so that there'll be at least 2 consistent faces there every day, and well, hopefully it'll work out. I think that it should, most of the sites looking at.
I just want to add with the college students that I don't think it should be limited to education, and that you should contact the people who are in recreation and sport management.
That's awesome.
Because I felt that was a piece that was lacking this year, and, well, I told you that. So, they need to move it, it's a long day, yeah.
Yeah, and we have some staff who've been trained in the Catch Kids, and there's one who I believe will be coming back at the middle school, but she, anyways, she has said that she would be sort of a lead person for Catch Kids and explaining that to other sites as well and kind of helping. And so,
Anybody else? Thanks, Adam. Okay, now we're ready for an overview of changes to the schedule at the high school and the middle school.
Yep.
And before you start, I understand these are both in the approved handbooks. Is that right?
Yes, the high school is, because that was just a little paragraph, I'm not sure what got into the middle school handbook, but it has been sent out. We have lots of ways to get it out to people, so.
Okay, I'm just making sure it went through policy before the change happened, because we've had some trouble in the past with changes that didn't, so not necessarily in your tenure, I'm just asking questions. Okay, so are you presenting this to us?
Yep.
Okay.
So just a quick overview, because most of this was already talked about at your P&D meeting. So at the middle school, we're moving to the alternate day block scheduling, which provides us the opportunity every day to provide a 39-minute intervention block. We created a leadership team at the middle school that's been meeting over the summer to structure this, to plan it, so that we have a really good solid plan going in. Therese has been attending those meetings, I've been attending those meetings. So we decided that the first year we're going to focus on math intervention. It was too much to take on doing math and ELA at the same time, so we're going to focus on math intervention the first year, with literacy being a focus for the enrichment activities. So we're looking at, at the opening of school, we're gonna have 9 days. Each block is gonna be 6 weeks. There's gonna be 9 days at the beginning of the year that will be used for a variety of things. One is to do some pre-assessments so that we can group kids in the right groups. They'll be used for tasks such as they go through the handbook. So instead of taking class time to do that, we'll use that intervention block to go through the student handbook like we do every year. We're also starting doing PBIS, so it'll be an opportunity to insert some lessons in there if we're ready to do that during those 9 days, but those will be structured 9 days.
Can you explain what PBIS is for?
Positive behavior interventions and supports.
Okay.
And that's a kind of behavioral structure philosophy. It's not a program, it's not canned, it is what the school identifies as how they want to do that. We have our first day of training on Monday. We had a scheduled day that the trainer needed to cancel, so our first day will be on Monday. Like I said, there'll be 6-week sessions. The enrichment piece of it, and I want to point out, because in the past we've heard, well, everybody's going to want to do all the fun activities, as opposed to the remediation side of it. We're really trying to balance those in the sense of trying to make the remediation pieces engaging. So it's not going to be, sit down and skill and drill in math. It's not going to be how to, master your 9 multiplication tables and all you're going to be is drilling. Trying to make it fun for them in the sense of tying it to something that students might enjoy. I think I use an example of math through baseball or something, so that it ties and engages the students, that we're not considering this torture. The other side of it for the enrichment, it really is going to be diving into the curriculum further. This isn't about, we're just going to do all fun and exciting things that, don't seem like education. We're hoping that none of this seems like education, that it is all fun, but that it really is about, maybe for that 6 week, we have a high-end group of kids who are really engaged in some kind of text that they like to read, fantasy or whatever, that they might take a book for that 6 week and dive a little deeper into a text. They might be doing, so science teachers are going to try to tie into the STEM piece of things, and so I know the science teacher is already looking at doing some kind of forensic unit, and so really diving, taking the curriculum and just diving deeper into some of those content areas.
And every 6 weeks the kids can...
So every 6 weeks they'll change and they'll go to another grouping. We did put a couple of days, I think it was 3 days in between each 6 weeks. One is so that we can do assessments on kids. Because one of our goals, Teresa and I's goals, was to make sure that whenever we did this, that we were really basing it on data. And so if a student was in for grammar and punctuation for 6 weeks, at the end of it, did they make growth? Did they see that? And so we want to have those 3 days to kind of be able to assess those kids. Again, it will be structured time. We're not looking at this as like a free-for-all for 3 days. It will be very structured. So how did we get the information out? Eric sent out an August bulletin that had a lot of information in that. Who does
that go to?
That went, I believe it goes to every student in the school. He does that by email.
So if they don't have the internet, it doesn't go to every student.
How does every student get that?
6th grade.
Well, it will go out, so it went out, that's just a preemptive. I'm guessing that they have a way to, so this is the same newsletter that he sends out to everybody, so they must have, if they don't have email, they must have a list of things that they mail them to. So he's done that. It will be he's gonna put something in his opening day letter, whatever goes home to parents and students, and then during the first few days of school, we'll have that opportunity to work with students and talk to them in those first 9 days about really what this looks like and how to engage in it. At the high school, so we're looking at, this isn't as much of a schedule change. It really, what it is doing is taking 4th period and everybody, so instead of having 7 periods a day where kids could have study hall any period of time, everybody will have study 4th period. What that does is multiple things. So it provides an opportunity twice a week that they'll have advisory. Instead of doing advisory every day, for a short period of time, they'll have advisory 2 days a week.
Were they doing it every day now?
They are doing it every day. I believe they're doing it every day now. It's a shorter period of time though. That will provide opportunity. So basically every teacher will be available during that period of time. So students who need support or help will make, either the teacher will say, you need to come see me fourth period so we can work on this, or the student will seek help on that if they need help. So again, it provides an opportunity for every teacher to be available. Right now, if you have first period study hall and you need help in math, if your math teacher's not available, guess what, you can't get help. This provides an opportunity for every teacher to be available. It also provides an opportunity, right now our teachers don't have collaborative planning time by subject area, so it will provide once a month at least them to be able to sit down as a science department and math department, look at content, look at planning.
How long are the periods again?
No, this is a regular period at the high school.
45.
45, 50 minutes, somewhere in there, yeah.
Fourth period usually includes lunch, though. Has that changed? I'm
No,
sorry.
I believe that will be the same,
Okay.
yeah.
Stacy, how does that affect the kids who are assigned to the Learning Center for a study hall?
So Learning Center will still exist outside of this period, yeah. Let's see, I'm trying to think.
So
of what
they'll
else.
have a study hall and a learning center assignment, or they may be assigned to learning center during this?
They may be assigned to Learning Center during that time, they may have a Learning Center period at another time, and not have then they would be assigned to that study hall as well.
Okay, then I have a follow-up question on that. If they're assigned to learning center and their IEP says that once a day they will go there, what happens on these advisory days?
I don't know, I would have to, I'm sure they have worked out logistics, I don't have that detail of information.
Can you make sure? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. So this also provides time for students to work in online learning. If they need that, it's available during that period as well.
And if somebody doesn't go, but they've been assigned to a teacher, what happens then?
So, I mean, that would be whatever normal policy is, that a kid blows off a teacher, whatever happens, you know what I mean? So they are, Mike is planning on including all of this information in his opening day letter to all of them. They did insert this into their handbook. At the beginning of the year, where they're going to have class meetings on the first day of school to discuss it with students so that they know what the expectations are and what it looks like. And then they're going to put the information on the website at the high school, as well as posting it on the TV that somewhere is in this building that runs the schedule, so that students know what that fourth block looks like on a rotating basis, so.
Where is it, Fred?
There's one right outside the OMC, and there's one over on the other side by the music room.
So that's it in a nutshell.
Any questions?
You said that this also would be a time for, like, science teachers to come together. You said that during that time. How many times a week would that be? Once a week?
I don't think even once, it'll probably be once a month. I think they have it all mapped out, because what they wanted to do was schedule those in so that, but I want to say it was once a month, and then it was once or twice a month that every teacher would be able to meet. So some of these have been scheduled out, so they scheduled it so that, I think it was twice a month, that every teacher would meet with the students, with the student individually or in a very small group in their class to talk about progress. So some kids will be assigned to a teacher for certain periods of time to talk about how they're doing in that class. How can you improve? What does this look like? And have those dialogues. So it's really about individualizing and really addressing students who had weaknesses in a kind of a different way than looking at like the middle school where, you know, everybody will evaluate them, because it's a little bit different level.
Any thought on the extended piece of it, like having those students who are going above and beyond in the high school as well, similar to what they're doing in the middle school, in regards to having a higher?
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, this is a starting point. I'm guessing we could get there. I want them to take small chunks and do it right the first time. It's like the middle school starting with math. It's like, let's start with math, let's do it right, and get that down, and then we'll expand to ELA and to other content areas.
I just assume that teachers would, for those students that are working at an advanced level would, when they're meeting with them, would encourage them in different.
Have you checked out this website? You might want to look at this other site.
direction. And-
And that's going to be teacher discretion or assessments based on that as well for those kids that are needing extra support? Or is it mostly just teacher recommendation?
So it's, we have, at the high school, we certainly test less, so we have NWEA. VCAP is kind of gone, so until we have smarter balance. So I think they'll use that, but for teachers at the high school, when you write a paper, you can tell when a student needs help in this or that, you know what I mean? So I think the teachers will be able to pick up, like they do, a little easier than the middle school. So it's not, we would like it to get data driven. So a little later, I'm going to talk about kind of some of the initiatives we've been working on over the summer. And the high school doesn't have a data team right now, and they've created one over the summer. We created a data team. So I'd like us to get there to be able to use data, but we're just not there yet. So again, something small, moving steady, slowly is better than not moving at all.
And so I just want to picture this. They come to see me and I have a study hall, but I'm also meeting with a kid, right? So teachers are overseeing a study hall while they're meeting with kids.
There will, and I believe it's kind of on a rotating basis, I believe, study hall, so that teachers were available. Like, so it's not the same 3 teachers who do a study hall all week long. It'll rotate around so that every teacher at some point is available.
Okay.
So it may not be Johnny needs to talk to the biology teacher today, it may be, because the biology teacher may have a study hall, but it may be tomorrow that the biology teacher is available.
Okay.
I mean, it really moves study hall just to one block. Doesn't really, just so that everybody's available and we're able to do all these things without tapping into the school day.
Okay, looks like maybe we've exhausted that. Okay, the next thing, this is just a very quick thing. On the school calendar, when we set it this year, there was a motion made and carried and approved that we would start in September each year as opposed to after Labor Day because of the years when Labor Day is late. And so motions get forgotten, minutes get forgotten. So I'd just like to ask the policy committee to take care of writing a policy to address that. And I see your meeting this week.
Yeah, I think we can get that on the agenda.
And next,
You can add it as other. I won't have time to post it again. I'm going to be out of the office for 2 days. Sorry. But we can add it as other.
okay, and next we are going to review the recommended Hill proposal from the Hill Subcommittee. There are 2 of the 3 of us here tonight, Dawn and I, and we just spent an hour and a half talking about this before this meeting began. And we don't just have one proposal, we have 2 proposals that we're bringing to you. So Stacy's first going to
So
hand
let me,
out
so the
copies.
first thing I'm handing out is kind of a cover letter, and then what I did was, with the help of the committee, was develop a summary of the district and of the middle school and the high school, kind of what we offer, so that we could add that into the proposal. And then the second one is kind of the beginning is an introduction to the proposal. Can you grab me one of those? Obviously.
One of these?
Yeah, one. Thank you. I wrote on one, so if somebody has one that has writing on it, stick with it. What is the colored one?
Nope, mine's black.
Anyway, so you'll see the beginning is the introduction, kind of this responds to the RFP that Hill provided us. And then I think it's 4 pages in. You're gonna see Appendix A, the tuition rate formula A1, which is the Franklin model. So this is mimicking.
Can I just stop you for a minute? We didn't discuss the first packet at
Okay, do you
all,
wanna do
so
that
people
first?
might be wondering where we are. It's okay if you want to go to the second one first. I'm flipping through this looking for page 4, and it's the next packet.
I'm sorry, I thought.
So I don't know if you want to say anything more about this letter.
So this is basically a summary, just the cover letter that we'll include with the packet. The beginning is just some information about the Newfound Area School District, then an overview of the high school, and an overview of the middle school.
And what we offer, academic, extracurricular, all of that. As well as a description of our vocational programming.
When is this going out?
It is due to them by Wednesday.
Now, what if we as a board should decide to do something that will drastically change what we're offering?
What do you mean, in terms of where we're at right now?
Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about configuration, we built that into this because their request for proposal asked about, actually their request for proposal said that we would ensure that there was a middle school and high school, and we changed all that everywhere that existed to 7 through 12, and said that we would provide education for 7 through 12. We also put something in here that said, should we, okay, it's number 2 on the second page at the top. It says, Newfound shall at all times maintain a program for grades 7 through 12 students enrolled in the district that is approved by the appropriate oversight agency. At this time, that education is provided through a middle school serving grades 6 through 8 and a high school serving grades 9 through 12. If Newfound should change that configuration, Hill will be given 2 years' notice of such change and will have the option to renegotiate the proposed agreement or opt out of the proposed agreement with 2 years' notice from Hill. Because we didn't want, we weren't going to lock ourselves into something that's fixed given our continued enrollment changes. It's not like they're a big growing community either.
I'd like to hear what you have in mind, Jeff.
I was gonna bring that up under other business. I actually,
It's a broad spectrum of problems in our district, but finally acknowledging that less will be more is necessary. That's what's going to be fairest to the taxpayers and our remaining teachers in an overdue, equitable agreement with the Teachers Association, and to the support staff personnel who may not have been fairly compensated over recent years. That needs fixing. Ultimately, this would also benefit our students by allowing us for a big